Good afternoon and welcome to the November meeting of the Finance Committee. First up, behind tab 2, is the adoption of the meeting minutes from the October meeting of the Finance Committee. Can I please get a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second? Second? I think so, a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, those meeting minutes are adopted. First up, behind tab, what tab is it? Tab 3 is cerebral palsy affiliates, and that's going to be presented by Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Under the Public Authorities Law, DASNY is authorized to issue bonds on behalf of cerebral palsy affiliates and its, Cerebral Palsy Association of New York State and its 24 affiliates, which the staff report collectively refers to as UCP. The UCP statute also provides DASNY with the authority to intercept funds from any state or local agency or social service district. To date, DASNY has issued bonds for 12 UCP affiliates in 9 separate bond issues. Today, staff is requesting the Finance Committee to recommend the full board to adopt a resolution to proceed at tomorrow's board meeting for one or more series of fixed and/or variable rate tax-exempt and/or taxable bonds in an amount not to exceed $23 million for a term not to exceed 30 years on behalf of Joanio, Inc., which will be the only UCP affiliate to participate in the proposed financing. Joanio participated in the 2002, 2005, and 2014 DASNY bond issues for UCP and currently has approximately $1.5 million of DASNY Series 2014 bonds outstanding. Joanio provides services to over 10,000 people each year in Rockland, Westchester, and Orange counties. Approximately $17.3 million of bond proceeds will be used to construct an approximately 69,000 square foot building at 260 North Little Tor Road in New City. This building will serve as the borrower's headquarters and health center to be used for health services, day rehabilitation programs, and administrative offices. The facility is being built adjacent to its current headquarters, which will ultimately be torn down and converted into parking for the new facility. Joanio will also be utilizing approximately $650,000 of bond proceeds to refinance a TD bank loan. The project is not supported by a prior property approval from the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. Rather, the borrower receives additional funds from OBWDD to pay for administrative and replacement reserve costs, as well as fees for service from the Department of Health, the State Education Department, and other payers, all of which are available to pay debt service. Under the UCP statute, non-PPA revenues are also subject to intercept and are included in the pledged revenues. The proposed bond issue is similar to the 2 DASNY bond issuances earlier this year for Cerebral Palsy Associations of New York State and Hudson Valley Cerebral Palsy Association. And that is expected to be a fixed rate private placement with one or more Oppenheimer funds, qualified institutional buyer. Security as required by Oppenheimer is expected to include a revenue pledge, the intercept of certain funds payable to the borrower by state and local entities, a mortgage on certain properties, a debt service reserve fund, and financial covenants. Certain collateral, including the mortgage property, is expected to be shared with taxable bonds that Joanio is issuing on its own through a private placement with Oppenheimer funds. This non-DASNY taxable deal is expected to occur at the same time as the DASNY tax-exempt issuance and is being used to terminate the borrower's defined benefit plan, which DASNY is not authorized to issue bonds for because it's not a capital purpose. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. How much is that taxable bond?
It should be approximately $14 million.
Questions?
Well, I asked Steve before this meeting whether the word is pronounced Joanio or Yoanio, and Steve confirmed that it's Joanio. But then you shared another piece of information with us that I liked having.
Yeah, it's actually, Joanio is a Native American word for independence. Wow. And they got their name from a camp that they used to run, Camp Joanio, 50 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that kind of history. That's terrific.
I was going to ask the name, by the way.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Fits well with their mission.
That was, no, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Anything from Albany?
No questions.
No, thank you. Just the prior property approval, I'm not familiar with what that is, actually.
Prior property approvals, a lot of times, institutions like this will get an approval from OPWDD, and it's basically a commitment on behalf of the state and OPWDD to support the project for the life of the financing, and a commitment on behalf of the institution to run the program. The state is still fully supportive of this project. However, there's no PPA associated with it.
I just hadn't.
Why don't we talk about that, just so I understand? Why would OPWDD, I got it, choose not to do that? Why would they not want to give a PPA?
They may ultimately end up running programs out of this building that are supported by a PPA. And I think those discussions have begun.
Okay, all right. So
Oh, really? To the program? I see. I got it.
Yeah.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
But it might not necessarily be tied to the financing, but to
This
the program.
particular financing. Got it.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to recommend approval of this or bring at tomorrow's board meeting? Thank you,
So moved.
Al. Second. Second at Albany. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Next up is Matt on the Toro College Obligated Group. That's behind tab 4, and I note that there was a substitute for the original
Chart.
chart.
Appendix 1.
Right, that provided certain additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee is being asked to recommend to the full board a 30-year financing on behalf of Truro College Obligated Group in an amount not to exceed $75 million. The project includes the purchase and renovations of 4 stories of a building in Manhattan to be used for student housing for the Lander College for Women, as well as various renovations and equipment purchases at the New York Medical College campus. At this time, I wanted to go over the Appendix 1, which is the color chart, which speaks to the Truro College and related entities, and it shows not only the entire Truro enterprise, but also the obligated group members. So hopefully folks have that in front of them. Again, that's the color chart that is the organizational chart of Truro College.
And this is similar to what we did, what did you do, about a year ago, 2 years ago? Portia?
2014.
14, right, okay.
So the obligated group includes Truro College, Truro University, Nevada, and New York Medical College. The obligated group was created in 2014, and we issued $94.3 million of bonds in June of 2014. These were rated BBB- from Fitch, and that current rating still stands. Historically, only certain divisions of Truro College have had their revenues and certain mortgages pledged, and those are on the far left, starting with the Truro College of Osteopathic Medicine. They're the green boxes that are, again, Truro College of Osteopathic Medicine, Truro College of Pharmacy, the School of Health Sciences, and the Truro College of Dental Medicine at New York Medical College. These designated enterprises of Truro College and Truro University, California, Truro University, Nevada, and New York Medical College make up 73% of the total assets and total revenues of the entire Truro enterprise. As this is an obligated group structure, obligations issued under the master trust indenture will be a joint and several obligations of each member of the obligated group and will be further secured by a lien on certain gross receipts and mortgages on certain real property. In addition, there'll be a 1-year debt service reserve fund as security. However, for this financing, the mortgage on the property that will be financed, which is the student residence for the Lander College for Women, will be pledged under the MTI. And we want to take a second just to look at the obligated group And the other members in blue that are the non-designated enterprises. And I wanted to make the point that when the staff report looked at the credit, we look at Truro in its entirety, which is a conservative approach, as this includes the blue members here, the blue non-designated enterprises that typically aren't as strong. And specifically, 2 of the non-designated enterprises require financial assistance, and these are the Lander colleges and the yeshivas. However, I wanted to make the point that these 2 enterprises do provide financial assistance in terms of fundraising, as they are looked at as feeder schools, as they provide students that enter other areas of Truro. So again, even though they're not self-sustaining, they certainly help out with the fundraising, and also many of the students that graduate from the yeshivas and the Lander colleges find their way to other areas of the Truro enterprise in terms of education. Taking a look at the staff report, I wanted to make a couple notes. One, in enrollment, the institution, they've undergone a recent change in their enrollment software, and so you'll see Table 2 shows a decrease in undergraduate applications received, accepted, and enrolled, and an increase in the graduate side. And the way it was explained to me is that they have 2 programs, a Doctor of Pharmacy program, a PharmD program, that is only a 4-year program, as well as a Doctor of Physical Therapy program, which leads to 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Health Sciences and a clinical doctorate in physical therapy. Now, in years past, these were classified as undergraduates, and they've since been reclassified as graduates. So that's the reason for the fluctuation, if you will, between 16 and 17. But again, that's a classification issue. If you look at total enrollment and total FTEs, in 2017, Truro achieved the highest total enrollment and the highest total FTEs in its history. So it does show that in total, enrollment is increasing. Again, looking at Truro in its entirety, Table 3 looks at the income statement related to Truro, and for 2017, the institution went positive in terms of net operating margin, where they achieved a 0.7 net operating margin and a net income margin of 1.2%. These, again, were the highest levels in the recent history. And one of the reasons that they've, turned things around is that they've had newer programs come online, specifically their dental school, and they've expanded the Truro College of Osteopathic Medicine, as well as other programs. So you'll see that total operating revenue has increased by over $22 million from 16 to 17, while their expenses only increased by $500,000. And again, that's programs coming online that they've invested their dollars in these programs the previous years. In addition, there's been tuition increases, careful cost controls, and as well as positive investment results that have further contributed to the improved results. One of the things I also wanted to make a note of, in terms of the revenue composition, one of the items is labeled as investment returns, and it has the percentage of 1.1%. But I wanted to make a note that that investment return is only the portion captured in unrestricted operating revenue that's appropriated for operations. Their total investment return was $9.9 million, which equates to a 9.3 return on their investment portfolio. Again, that label may be a little misleading. It perhaps could be labeled in the future as investment revenue as opposed to investment returns. So I wanted to make that point.
Thank you.
In addition, we have received their final audit. There's been minimal changes as compared to the draft audit, And certain ratios like the net operating margin and the net income margin that I just mentioned that were positive 0.7 and 1.2, those did not change. Also, other ratios including the primary reserve ratio, the viability ratio, the leverage ratio, and the available assets ratio, those did not change as well. The debt service coverage ratio changed minimally from 2.0 to 1.9. But in the next round, the adoption of documents, we'll send out a black-lined staff report that will show the changes based on the final audit. And again, we just received that. In closing, I just wanted to go over kind of the financing again. In addition to making improvements at its New York Medical College, Churl will consolidate its student housing for the Lander College for Women and will include the new mortgage as part of the security for the MTI. It is under contract to sell an existing building that's used for part of the student housing at the Lander College for Women, and the price that they'll under contract for that they'll be receiving is $79 million. Of this $79 million, they plan on using approximately $23 million for equity for this transaction, $23 million to pay off the balance of what is outstanding on the current mortgage, and then have the remaining $33 million for cash and investments. And just finally, in speaking with the institution, they've basically said everything that they're going to do, they've done. They have met all of their required ratios, and they've met all of their obligations in terms of debt service in a timely manner. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Could you just take me through what they're buying? They're buying a condominium, and they're buying
they have 4 stories.
Building. They have an existing building they're selling.
Yep.
For $79 million, right? They're going to take whatever the equity they have in that building, and they're going to do what with that equity? They're going to use it and include it in this. It's going to be their equity on the new building?
On the new building, correct.
So the purchase of the condominium is going to be about $70-something million.
About $73 million, $50 million from bond proceeds, $23 million from equity. In addition, they're going to spend another $10 million, or propose to spend another $10 million for renovations at the New York Medical College.
I got the medical college piece over here. I'm trying to understand the other part of this.
Yeah, the later college.
And they have a contract for sale now that's signed. And when do they expect to close on the $79 million?
By the end of the year.
They have a date in their contract for the end of the year.
Yes. Okay.
And then the buy, that's done when? They have a contract for the buy in early part of 18?
Hopefully it will coincide and be done by the end of December, so that the bond proceeds will be used for the purchase, so they won't be out of any cash and have to reimburse themselves with bond proceeds.
And then we get a first mortgage on the condominium?
On the 4 stories, that will be included in the MTI asset base, if you will.
And the valuation, do we get involved in the valuation?
We do
of
not
that
get
at all?
involved in the evaluation.
So the $79 million we just okay.
The sale price, again, that's a private sale. The purchase, a private purchase, they'll be putting in equity, and again, that mortgage will be included in the MTI as another asset for the master trust.
And that's all for the dormitory for the Lander College.
The Lander College for Women.
What is the Lander College for? It's just a college for women. Is it a seminary? What is it? I don't know.
The Lander College for Women and the Lander College for Men have a mission in the Judaic sense of education, but it is all-encompassing in liberal arts, business, etc.
Okay. And that's the mortgage that we get to support this thing.
Correct.
Do we ever do our own appraisal of what the property is worth? We just accept the mortgage and... Anybody else have any questions or?
I've had a chance to talk to Matt before this meeting. I have a number of questions, but he's satisfied. He has satisfied my. He has taken me to a better place. The understanding is a whole lot better than it was when I finished reading. One of my concerns, Mr. Chair, was that they are extraordinarily highly dependent on, well, yeah, I was coming to that, but dependent, their revenue composition comprises almost 81% tuition fees. And I was concerned that, as I'm sure everybody was, with the 2016-2017 undergraduate applications versus the 2017-2018 undergraduate applications, the number dropped off by,
It was
say,
substantial,
1,000.
but then it netted out to about the same. We actually grew a little bit.
But and Matt explained after.
Yes, thank you, by the way. That was,
Yeah, it
it
was
was a very clear
helpful.
and rational explanation.
Very clear. No, I don't have any questions.
Anything come up in Albany?
No questions. Thank you.
What was the, just remind me, the last time we did this, because we had the Toro out in California and they couldn't mix the funds, right? We're just, maybe Mike can,
Maybe Porsche can.
or Porsche.
Well, it's a multi-state obligated group, so when they borrow in California or Nevada or New York State, everybody is liable for the other borrowings, and I think that was one of the discussions. The other discussion was they do provide financial assistance, especially to the Lander colleges and the yeshivas, but there are benefits in terms of those two entities providing not only fundraising, but many of those students go on to other aspects, New York Medical College, the certain College of Pharmacy perhaps, or their various graduate programs. So they stay inside the Truro system, which I thought was an important point, that they are feeder schools, if you will.
Got it.
But they do require the financial assistance.
And the MTI, Matt, determines, I guess, I'm asking, the priority of payment. They have debt in California, they have debt in Nevada, they have debt in New York. I assume it's the MTI determines how the debt is paid, how the debts are paid.
The debt is paid on the annual debt service payments. It is all a priority. So in fact, nobody in the obligated group has a priority over
anybody
another
else.
member.
Okay.
That's correct.
And creditors in Nevada and in California and in New York are at equal status? Is that everybody gets paid? When-
Any obligation issued under the MTI has equal status.
Okay.
That's a fair way to put it.
Thank you.
And do we know what the financial conditions are of California and Nevada?
We do.
We're,
We have.
we're comfortable with their
Yeah.
financial.
They actually have stronger margins out in California and Nevada. Looking at year end for 2017, Truro University, California, or just Truro University, that's the technical name, operating margin of $3.57 million on $71 million of revenue. Truro University, Nevada, operating margin of $3.85 million on $52 million of revenue.
And Matt, you did say that there's no material change from the unaudited statements in the audited statements.
Most of the ratios stayed the same. The
No, I didn't hear you
Yeah,
say it. I'm sure you did.
no, they in terms of the actual operating margin, the draft audit had 3.573 million. The final audit had $3.51 million. Many of the ratios did not change. The debt service coverage ratio did change slightly, 2.0 to 1.9.
Okay. That's fine. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. Any more questions?
I just get a little bit the mortgage piece, just to make sure the value of the property is not a concern, but that is your security for this. I mean, hopefully
It's the
worth what
security for everything. It goes into the pot.
Right. But values are what they are. Okay. Where's the osteopathic medicine? Where's that one? Where's that located?
Physically?
That's somewhere in New York, somewhere, right?
Middletown.
In Orange County, they actually believe they leased. I don't think they purchased.
Right.
They leased space from one of our other clients, Orange Regional Medical Center, which closed 2 hospitals. One of the hospitals that they closed actually is being used, being recycled for a school for osteopathics.
And the College of Pharmacy is?
It's in the city.
Manhattan, I believe.
I believe it's Manhattan. Some of them are in Brooklyn. The Lander College for Men is in Queens. They have a pretty broad
They're all over the map. Okay. Okay. So, can I get a motion to recommend approval? Well, not approval, but to recommend approval
To the
to
full
discussion to the full board tomorrow.
So
This is-
moved.
This is a first time on matter.
Yes.
Second? Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Very comprehensive, and thank you for the colors. That would have made life
It does
a
make
lot
life
easier. It's a little,
man. It really
it's
does.
a little convoluted, but it all makes sense at the end of the day. We hope. Okay. There's a TELP financing, I think, not looking at my notes, right? Montefiore behind tab 5. That's Porsche, I think.
Chairman, behind tab 5 is TELP financing on behalf of Montefiore Medical Center in an amount of $10 million. As you know, the current policy of Public Authorities Control Board requires that TELP lease which exceed $10 million in a 12-month period be brought before both the DASNY Board and KCB for approval. This is the second TELP lease authorized within calendar year 2017. There is an attached equipment list which outlines the type of equipment to be financed, including nursing, radiology, and information technology, as well as other kinds of equipment. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Porsche. Any questions, concerns?
None.
None up in Albany?
No,
Remind me,
I'm just-
does help? Go ahead.
I was just going to comment that, as usual, the department has conducted its due diligence on these TELPs in terms of notices and CONs, and the department does recommend approval.
Thank you. That was going to be my
Thanks, John.
question. Thank you very much, John. Can I get a motion to
So moved.
recommend? Thank you. Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. That motion also carries. I think, without looking at my notes, I think that concludes it. So we'll look for an adjournment motion.
So
Mr.
moved,
Chair.
sir.
Thank you. Second. All in favor, aye. None opposed. We're good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you.